After Joe Biden's latest gaffes, would you rather have Donald Trump as President of the United States? 0207 862 2222 is the number. President Biden fueled concerns about his cognitive abilities during the NATO summit yesterday after mistakenly introducing Ukraine's President Zelenskyy as Russian leader Vladimir Putin. Have a look at this.
Russia will not prevail in this war. Ukraine will prevail in this war. And we'll stand with them every single step of the way. That's what the compact says, loudly and clearly. And now I want to hand it over to the president of Ukraine, who has as much courage as he has determination. Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin. President Putin. We're going to beat President Putin. President Zelenskyy. I'm so focused on beating Putin, we got to worry about it. Anyway, Mr. President.
I'm better.
You are a hell of a lot better.
Gosh, utterly agonising, so embarrassing. Lord, later at his first news conference since his disastrous debate against Mr. Trump 2 weeks ago, he also mistook his Vice President Kamala Harris for his Republican opponent.
I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be Vice President, but I think she was not qualified to be President. So let's start there. Number one. The fact is that the consideration is that I think I'm the most qualified person to run for president. I beat him once, and I will beat him again.
President Biden defended his Putin gaffe later, saying the success of the NATO summit was the most important thing and that he had the support of his international allies, among them Prime Minister Keir Starmer, who had this to say to the BBC's Chris Mason.
Prime Minister, you know what an increasing number of people are saying? They're implying that President Biden is senile. Is he?
No, we had a really good bilateral yesterday. We were billed for 45 minutes. We went on for the best part of an hour. We went through a huge number of issues at pace. He was actually on really good form and
mentally agile.
Absolutely across all the detail. We were going at pace through a number of issues.
Gosh, I mean, the first thing I really want to say is this is just terribly sad, isn't it? I mean, it really is. You don't want to, make any sort of mileage at the expense of a man who, to me, at any rate, appears obviously to be struggling very badly. It's awfully sad watching these mistakes playing out in public like this. Nina.
It was awful. I was watching last night, Newsnight, and they brought that clip, and you just put your head in your hands and thought, this is just not right. But the thing is, but
shocked, though. I think
the thing was, Lynn, he's gone through 2 days of the NATO meeting and chaired it well, and this was a scripted thing, and he stumbled at the end, and everybody was saying, well, the real test is going to be the press conference, and if he only takes 4 questions, easy questions from stooges, as it were, then the press will be furious. In fact, what we haven't seen, because we don't have time to show it, is an hour where he was actually pretty good. I mean, he was across his facts. I mean, I know he stumbled over the name. I reluctantly think it is time for him to go, but he is still firing on all cylinders up there.
No,
whether he makes a gap,
Nina,
he's had to deal with a stutter all his life. He also he's been famous for his gaffes.
I think
I was listening to Times Radio this morning, and
the
professional presenter on Times Radio this morning said she mistook Trump for Kamala Harris. She did the same thing.
No, I think what we're doing is we're making excuses.
I'm not making
many people are making excuses for Biden because they're fueled by their hatred for Trump. And yes, we all make mistakes. Here, sitting here, I've said a few gaffes. We all done it. But we're not the leader of the free world, and we don't regularly. We're seeing a regular occurrence now. And even when, fair enough, he managed to gather himself when he said, Putin. Oh, I didn't mean Putin, blah, blah, blah. But when he said Trump instead of Kamala Harris, he was completely blank. There was no, when I say something incorrectly, I quickly go, oh, sorry, or let me have a look. He just continued like that was absolutely normal, that he mistook his vice president.
He didn't hear himself. He didn't realise.
Well, you said he's firing on all cylinders. That's not a person firing on all cylinders.
I think judge him over an hour. and over an hour, and he was strong, he was forceful,
But
he was across the facts.
you're saying over an hour, like that's magnificent. You're the leader of the United States of America. An hour should just be easy.
It's such a shame, and I can't help feeling, someone who loves him, I'm thinking about his wife.
Thank you. Can watch that painfully.
Want to protect him from this kind of
We would never let any of our loved ones make a fool of themselves.
Such a shame. But when he says on the world stage, the only way that I will pull out of this presidential race is if the Lord Almighty himself comes down to earth to tell me, Joe, don't run. Then you think, oh my gosh, maybe he just won't be told even by the people who love him. Let's remind ourselves now of one of the worst moments from the Biden-Trump presidential debate.
What I've done since I've changed the law, what's happened, I've changed it in a way that now you're in a situation where there are 40% fewer people coming across the border illegally. That's better than when he left office. And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either.
I mean, that really has to be one of those moments, whether you loathe him or whether you love him. Donald Trump is simply telling the truth. He doesn't know what he said, and I don't think he knows, and I don't know either. Let's go to Chris, who's on the line in Liverpool. Hi, Chris. Morning to you.
Morning.
What do you think? Do you think because Joe Biden really does appear to be struggling so badly, the only alternative is Donald Trump? Or do you think they need to find a replacement for Joe Biden? They need to do that quickly.
Oh, no. I'm backing Biden 100%. I would, if I'm being honest, I'd rather have Biden than Starmer.
Why?
Many things. Firstly, I do not get this thing with the media that keep going on about Biden's stutter. So what? He's got a medical condition where he stutters.
The stutter this morning. In fairness to this programme and also most others, nobody's talking about the stutter. What people are talking about is just making these really remarkable mistakes, and also so many of them. And also in the clip you just saw, Chris, nobody knows what he was talking about. He doesn't know. Trump doesn't know. None of us knows. That's not the media making a thing of it. That's just what happened, isn't it?
But no, because I know what he was talking about.
What was he talking about?
He was on about how under Trump there was no regulations, there was nothing about the border crossings in the South. It was almost record high. Where with him, he's brought the amount of border crossings down. He's been working with Mexico to reduce the amount of illegals coming over the border.
But Chris, sorry to interrupt you, but you've described it beautifully in one sentence. Crystal clear, absolute clarity. Everybody knows what you're talking about, including you. So do I. So does everybody watching the programme. If the world leader, the leader of the free world, isn't capable of doing what you've just done effortlessly, doesn't that signal to you pretty dramatically that he isn't really going to be the right man in the job, even if he wins the election?
No, because, again, OK, I might be quite articulate with the way I talk, but I couldn't sit there and go through foreign policy. I couldn't do government things that he's done. I mean, if you want to say how cognitive he is and how look at the policies he's brought in, look at the stuff he's done behind the scenes. We always go on about,
I'll bring Lynn in because I think we know where you're going with this. This is obviously a gentleman who's a great fan of Joe Biden.
I'm interested to know, what you say, what he's done behind the scenes. Under Trump, we didn't enter a war. At the moment, we're being involved in 2 world conflicts. Cost of living...
When you say we, who are you talking about?
OK, NATO, America, we're all involved. But generally speaking, when we have world conflicts, it's America that leads on it and we follow, don't we? With Trump, under Trump, we didn't have any of those conflicts. Yes, there was an issue with...
What's the second conflict?
We've got one in the Middle East and one Ukraine-Russia.
But the one in the Middle East isn't anything to do with NATO.
well, we still are very vocal on what should happen.
No,
we're sending arms.
Being vocal has nothing to do with
well,
it.
Of course it is. If we, as the West, said we need to stop sending arms to Israel, we disagree with what is happening, they wouldn't receive an overwhelming support. Israel is one of our allies. We are involved to a degree. We may not be, boots on the ground.
Yes, but you can't just say NATO. That's not NATO.
Let's move on. Let's go to Tina, who's on the line in London. Hi, Tina. What do you think about this? Is it time for Joe Biden to back out? And if he doesn't, should it be Donald Trump for president?
But what is the alternative, though? That's my issue. Because the Democrats have had time. They've known how old Biden is for years. Why is it at this point that they now want to find a replacement for him? If there was a younger presidential candidate to come through the ranks, why have they not been able to identify somebody that was capable of going against Trump? My issue is that we're so focused on Biden's gaffes and his age that we've lost focus on the dangerous despot, crazy man Trump that doesn't have any scruples. He's not going into the presidential campaign because he wants to do better for his country. I don't think he even cares for the people of his country. In fact, he actually, wasn't it confirmed that he went for it to be president in the first place because he was mocked by Obama?
Yeah, but Tina, if we look at his record, if we look at Trump's record, he brought industry back. We saw record unemployment in terms of how many people were getting back into jobs. Middle-class families saw middle-class families saw an increase in their
I've got to say,
taxes
Tina's
were down.
Revulsion for Donald Trump, Nina's revulsion for Donald Trump is not reflected in the figures in America because at the moment Donald Trump leads Joe Biden 49% to 43% among likely voters nationally. So, Tina, thanks so much for the call. Let's go to Deborah. Oh, who's in New York? How great. Hi, Deborah. Morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning. So tell me what you think about what's going on with Joe Biden and what ought to go on.
Well, the press over here is favouring Trump terribly. They don't show all of his gaffes, how he says he was running against Obama, which he never ran against Obama, how he said that Biden would start World War II, and how he was talking about he'd rather be electrocuted than eaten by sharks. Right. And all of his times when he can't pronounce words and goes off on weird rants. They lie about everything. During that debate, yes, Biden wasn't very good, but Trump lied for 90 minutes and was never fact-checked. And as far as the economy goes and everything, the economy is doing better under Biden. His job growth, just for instance, last month was more than 2.5 years of a Republican presidency. The stock market went over 40,000. The stock market is double what it was under Trump.
All right, Deborah, thanks so much for testimony on the ground in America. We appreciate it. Let's quickly go to Pete in Sheffield. Hi, Pete.
Oh, hello there, love. I feel a bit sorry for Joe Biden, to be quite frank.
I do.
Because he's up there in front of the world. And to be in all honesty, his wife should tell him to quit. It's the best thing for him to do. I mean, he's having problems. And he's a sick man. He's obviously poorly. And Donald Trump is going to laugh all his way to the elections. And, I mean, this is the type of thing. You could get a world war.
I'm glad to end on a call with some compassion because I don't like the idea of people poking fun at somebody who's obviously struggling. Thank you very much indeed. Good to hear from you. Thanks so much.